And welcome back to Blueshirts Buzz, where we talk everything New York Rangers. I'm your host, Matt Piscazzi, my co-host, John Horton. Definitely check out our Twitter at BlueBuzz26, and we got a lot to hop into, so let's get right into it. Ton of stuff has happened since our last episode here. We've been busy, a lot's been going on, and a lot's been going on in Rangers Town that a lot of fans are not happy about. A ton of stuff to talk about. Fun little segment we're going to get going for you guys in the beginning as well to kind of try and keep the mood a little bit light. But before we get into all of that fun stuff, how are you doing, good sir?
I'm fired up. I'm kind of angry. I broke out my 94, not that I was there for that, but, or that this is from 94, but 94 Rangers sweatshirt. Ton of just, I'm pissed. Like, just ton of bullshit in the media. Like, these last 3 games have been some of the worst Ranger games I've seen. Not in my life, of course. Anybody that says that's lying, but like for this core, absolutely
Yeah,
horrible.
disappointing, sure.
Yeah, disappointed. We're gonna hit home on a lot of stuff today. We're gonna talk about a lot of things that have been boiling over. And the start of the season was so good, and I just don't understand. I mean, I kind of understand why it's fallen apart to some degree, but there is a certain level that we'll touch on that I think is unacceptable and a common denominator for this core, which is what has led us to where we are now.
Yeah, unfortunately, and a lot of stuff to cover here, so try and keep this one quick. But we've gone on here a couple times and talked about like first time scorer. And last episode I had mentioned I was like we should start keeping track of this. Like it's something like we just did it for fun, but I thought it'd be funny to like look back and start tracking it and stuff like that. So I did. I looked at last episodes, looked at the score lines. I mean, it's really not that difficult, but figured we'd start tracking it right now. So unfortunately, they're all losses, also, which kind of sucks. Be a little
Yeah.
more fun. We're like, oh, this goal mattered. Well, none of them really did. In the Flames game, Laugh scored first. We were both wrong. In the game against the Oilers, Panarin scored first, which you did clock. He also was the only scorer in that just absolutely horrendous game. And in the loss to the Blues, Cooley scored first. That was not on either of our bingo cards. The current score is John 1, me 0.
All right, let's
Not the way I
go.
wanted to start this, but I also don't think that this is how the Rangers wanted to play these past 3 games. I mean, this has just been and honestly, like I had said this to you when I was texting you about this, I've been working a lot. The nights I happen to work happen to literally just be, the past few games. So I really had to only kind of catch highlights, listen to some coverage and go through, I like scroll Reddit, all that kind of stuff, whatever, ESPN. So all of that, like seeing all of the media coverage and everything, and then kind of piecing it together myself, like even that, I know enough, this has been awful. Like I don't even want to watch these highlights because it's all lowlights for us. We're just
Yeah.
getting blasted. We're not competitive. The core is not there. The motivation isn't there. And then the roster move, we're playing Berard on the top 2 line. I don't really understand some of the up and down of this roster. Mancini goes down every other day. Zach Jones is apparently hurt. Is he hurt? Ruedel is now up and Rempe's back down and Berard is
Oh
he up,
God.
is he down? What is going on? I'm just gotta take
Yeah.
a breath.
No. Yeah.
It's a lot. It really is.
It
It's
is, and I'm tired of. I'll say it here, and I don't care if I get crucified. I'm tired of Matt Rempe. I really am. He's shown little to no improvement. He still just does the same big lumbering dumb hits and gets roughing penalties like he did yesterday. Just unnecessary nonsense. Like I get the physicality in hockey is bread and butter. It's the absolute foundation of the sport. But when you're taking dumb penalties for it, and also it's not firing up the players, then just don't take up 5 minutes of ice time from someone else. And yeah, Berard, like, really cool story. Awesome that he made his NHL debut. Had a point. That's really cool. Hit an assist. But like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And why? And in the practice lines, Mika finally, Mika Zibanejad was taken off the first line. And then, of course, as soon as the game starts, he's on the first line. There's just no repercussion for him. And I understand to a certain degree with the way Mika's contract is structured and like who he is on this team. We really can't afford him to be anything other than good to great. And I understand that puts Laviolette in a hard position. But right now, the Rangers are fourth in the Metro behind the Capitals, behind the Washington Capitals, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous to watch. And the leadership is non existent. And, Johnny Lazarus on Twitter and a bunch of other people, they made good points. It's like, it sucks to think last year was the year. We were like, all right, I was like, this is our year. Like, this is our year. This is what we need to do. This is what we need to come out and win it. And, he made good points. And it's just like this core, it's 4 years now with this core. And I don't want to say it, but I might have to. I just think they're soft. They really are. You know, when the going gets tough, they vanish. They tuck their tail between their legs. They fall out of sort in terms of their positioning and their forechecking. And you watch the last couple of games, they're barely skating. There's zero back check, zero. There's barely any forecheck. The leaders are non-existent. After this last loss to the St. Louis Blues, Panarin was the only one who came out to talk to the media. Jacob Trouba, the so-called captain, and Mika and all these other leadership players vanished. They didn't want to talk to the media. That's weak in my opinion. I get like the media can be kind of annoying and a little bit of kind of like a leech, but when you get embarrassed 3 games in a row, more so 2 of the 3, and then you don't come out and talk, and Panarin had good things to say. It shows a lot of issues. And Igor has been mediocre. He hasn't been bad. He's been facing more shots, but like he hasn't been great. And you want more than 11 million a year. This is not it. You're not showing it. You're not showing me 11.5 to 12 million a year by letting in goals like this and not being able to face the shots that you face. The whole locker room's out of whack. And I don't want to blame Laviolette. I think he's a great coach. And I do think he's backed into a corner a little bit, and he's jumbled the lines around a little more than I think he should. The defense is atrocious, and the defense is getting no help from the forwards. And just to show a level of the decline, I have so Mika, which is funny. Well, we'll do Mika last because the thing we're talking about. So, and we'll get into Chris Kreider as well too. But in 19 games, Chris Kreider has 9 goals, 0 assists for 9 points, -1. Riley Smith, 20 games played, only 3 goals, 8 assists for 11 points, a +2. Vincent Trocheck has also been struggling. I don't know why. 20 games, 4 goals, 6 assists, 10 points, -2. And then Mika, point-wise, 20 games, 15 points, okay, but only 4 goals, only 11 assists, and his plus-minus is a -13. For a guy that we've talked about, like, oh, well, at least when he's struggling offensively, defensively, he's there.
Yeah.
That's not the case anymore, and he shows little to no effort. Jacob Trouba plays some of the worst hockey I've ever seen in my entire life, and in my opinion, to some extent, maybe this offseason stuff really shook them. This drama and this Trouba trying to trade him, and it comes down to financials, and then now you see, after the Oilers loss, there was a tweet from Elliot Friedman here that said, in the aftermath of their 6-2 loss in Edmonton on Saturday, the Rangers have made it very clear they are interested in making moves and shaking up their roster. Among the names indicated are Chris Kreider, which made me throw up in my mouth, and Jacob Trouba. That one made me celebrate, although other options will be considered. And I've heard more reports following that Chris Drury has basically sat down at the table and said, okay, doors are open. Like, let's talk to all these other GMs. Whoa, excuse me. Crazy voice crack. And part of it could be a scare tactic, right? Just to kind of fire up the players. But that report came out. And then the next day they played some of the worst hockey I've ever seen against the St. Louis Blues, who are not a contending team. And it's just, I don't mean to talk for 3 hours here, but it's just,
there's a lot to talk about.
There's a lot to talk about. Yeah, it seems deflated. And as I've seen like Johnny Lazarus and a bunch of other people say, it's like, maybe this is it for this core. We've seen 4 years in a row where they get to a certain hill and they just can't climb it. They tumble back down. There's some great pieces in the organization, and there's just uncertainty with some people, including mainly the core players and the veterans. And God, if Filipino could just stay healthy. I mean, I feel like once he got hurt and the line started to jumble more, I feel like it started to collapse. And that's not his fault, but it's just so frustrating. And Chris Kreider's day to day now, which there's some conspiracies, which I don't agree with. I think he actually did just get hurt, which would explain why he hasn't produced in the last couple of games. But he went day to he went day to day, and then the report came out like, oh, they're thinking of shipping him. Which I'm going to say it right now. I'm always going to continue doing this show and talk about this, but I might have to boycott some games if Chris Kreider gets traded, because he's one of my favorite players. Very watching him play.
Very upset. And
it makes the team worse. Unless you get like Mikko Rantanen for him, which is not going to happen. Like, the team will be worse if you trade Chris Kreider. And I'm not, Chris Kreider is not a world breaker, but he's a very, very, very important piece on this team. For chemistry, for scoring, for energy. And he's just a stand-up guy, and I don't want to see him. I don't want to see him get traded. I will be actually livid.
I would be heartbroken. 100%.
Livid. I mean, even if we got like, I said Mikko Rantanen, but like someone of equal caliber, if we got in exchange for him, it'd be a positive. But like I just
Hmm.
wouldn't be able to get over it. I wouldn't.
I also don't
So
know that it's like, what does it really mean to the team, though, is the thing. If you're getting
yeah,
the same, even if you get a little bit of a bump in production, is that worth it? Because what does that locker room look like? What does that core look like? Is there still that good chemistry that we have through special teams up and down? That's a can of worms. I mean, I definitely a lot to touch on there. I think before I respond, and then obviously before we get into some of the talk about these core guys, whether or not they're really getting moved, because that's kind of the biggest topic of discussion here. I figured we get a little bit of word from our wonderful sponsors in here for the holiday season. If you don't mind starting us off with DraftKings.
yes, I will. And then after these ads, I yapped for a while, so it'll be your turn.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to take the floor for so long. Yeah, starting with DraftKings, of course, with the 24-25 NHL season, still being pretty early, brand new right now for everybody listening and watching. The action is heating up, and especially at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. It's super easy for first timers to get started at DraftKings Sportsbook. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win a game. And if you're new to DraftKings, new customers can bet just $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your bets win. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets if your bets win when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
There's nothing quite like the experience of a live NHL game. The chill of the ice, the sound of a big hitter or slap shot. Every year I try to go to as many games as possible. And this year, with Game Time, it'll be easier than ever. Game Time has tickets for all sorts of live sporting and music events, not just the NHL. And with Game Time picks, you can get the best deal in the shortest time. Right now, there's tons of deals on Game Time for you and your friends and family to enjoy. You can download the app and buy tickets right from your phone. Game Time has great features like panoramic seat views to make sure you love your seats before you buy them, the Game Time lowest price guarantee, or the ticket coverage that provides the most flexible customer service policy in the industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code THPN for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it? It's game time, baby.
Leading us to our final sponsor here. With Raycon earbuds, which you can get an amazing deal on premium audio every day of the year, but that doesn't mean that they're not having any sales for Black Friday or Cyber Monday as well. Far from it, they're actually doubling down on their amazing value by offering viewers up to 30% site-wide. Although Raycon's quality rivals some of the biggest names in premium audio, Raycon started just half the price as the other guys, so they're already an incredible deal, even before you factor in their Black Friday and Cyber Monday offer of up to 30% off site-wide. Raycon everyday earbuds are also available in a variety of vibrant colors, so you don't have to just use the standard issue white or black earbuds sticking out of your ears. It's time to save big for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Go to buyraycon.com/THPN today to get up to 30% off site-wide. That's right. You'll get up to 30% off on everything Raycon's related on Raycon's earbuds website when you go to buyraycon.com/THPN. Please and thank you.
Yeah, and thank you again to our wonderful sponsors. Love the opportunity to get some nice little deals and ads out to you guys. So yeah, like I said before, we had segued in there. Definitely a lot of things to touch on there. I'll try and move through some of this stuff a little quickly so we can get into more of the talk about actually moving these guys or whatever, kind of where we're landing there. On the Rempe stuff, I mean, I'm definitely still not out on the Rempe saga. I wish we could just give him a little bit more consistent time. I mean, he goes like days and days without playing, and then it was nice that he got more time. I mean, he actually ended up, I think he got close to like 10 minutes in that Blues game, which in reality, like you'd still like to see closer to like that, 10 or 12 minute, especially if they're on that fourth line consistently, excuse me. But he did get 9.5 minutes. Yeah, 9.5 minutes, 9 minutes, 26 seconds. So I'm happy that he did get a little bit more of that playing time. I want to see more from him. I think he's got potential. I think he could be a guy that this fan base could really latch onto. I think he could mean more to this organization than just being that bottom six physical presence. So I'm definitely not out on the Rempe saga yet, but not a great showing the other night for sure. Hard to kind of defend some of those actions that he does take. I think he still has to work on a little bit of that maturity in his game, but I think we'll see that from him if he gets some more playing time here. I'm not overly impressed or disappointed by Igor. To kind of touch on him really quickly. I mean, I'd love to see more from him. I just think given what the defense and the forwards have put in front of him, it is hard to throw a lot, like to have him shoulder a lot of that burden. I think we're so used to seeing him bail us out in so many situations that when he doesn't bail us out, we're almost like, like what are you doing? And to a certain extent, there is some of that where I don't think he's playing his best hockey right now. But I do wonder if it's just the environment around this whole team at this point as well, and those contract talks. Is he going to be here next year? Is he going to get paid the money he wants? I really wonder if this core is struggling right now because there's so much kind of going on and so much saturation in that locker room, so much chit chat, so many voices, so many things in the media. I wonder if some of these guys are getting a little bit overwhelmed. Maybe they're having some of those a little bit more stress, a little bit more kind of nervous walking into the room, which, you're professional athletes. I think you got to try and put a lot of that aside and perform. You're getting paid millions of dollars to do so. But from a
Yeah.
human aspect, I do wonder if there's a lot of that going on, and that's why we're seeing some of these things happen. Um, which I guess leads me into my point on Laviolette, where I think he might be feeling a little bit of the pressure as well. He was pretty steady. He's been pretty. I think he's been a really good influence on this team. He's done a lot of really good stuff. Like once we started really implementing his system, obviously we haven't really seen it come to fruition this year, but last year and as well as that run into the playoffs, I mean, he's done a lot of really, really good things to kind of get this team going. And then you look at the way this season started, and it's like, okay, great off season. We're right back into it. And now here we are in November and, almost in December here, and we're having all these conversations, right? So I wonder if I got to imagine he's feeling that pressure. And maybe that's why we're seeing him kind of making all these changes, as well as a couple of the injuries that we've touched on. But it really, when every other day someone is out day to day, and this guy's up, this guy's down, this guy's up, this guy's down, at a certain point, it's like, I think there might be a little bit more going on. And as well as that, it's just like, can we have some kind of lineup consistency? I mean, how do you expect these guys to perform night in, night out when they don't necessarily know who's going to be on their left or right? Like, it's just some of those things are not helping. It's just the aura around this team right now is very negative. There's a lot of bad talk that's being thrown out there. And I always try and be positive, and I try and believe in this team and this core. And I've been someone to try and defend this core. And even through a lot of this negative stuff, I've been trying to latch on to those games where we've done what we needed to do, and we've shown up, and we've played great, and Igor's played great, and we've seen it, 5v5 special teams, all that, right? I look at those games and I say, we are capable of greatness, and I try and hold on to that. But just the feeling around this team right now and the way the core seems to be responding to what's going on is very unsettling. I will say that moving into the rest of this season, now that we are kind of in that quarter of the season mark here, I would rather this be happening in the beginning of the season if this is something that we're going to overcome. But the way things look right now, I'm just honest. I'm having trouble staying positive. I am, and I don't
Yeah.
like that because I like to be the positive guy. But
Yeah.
definitely a lot of negative chatter, and I guess I do have a question for you on that kind of negative chatter here to move us into, I think, the latter part of this conversation here. Um, with the talk of these core guys getting moved, of course we've heard Druba talk before. There's been some Mika rumblings as well with just the way that he's performed. I think that's been more the fan base than the media. But here now, hearing this, Kreider potentially getting moved, I'm going to question this for you, and then obviously you can kind of touch on that and all this stuff going on, because there's just a ton of these core players that are in conversations right now. But do you think that is more of a move by Drury to kind of try and put some pressure on the situation, and maybe put some pressure on Mika, and almost maybe send a message to him that, like, hey, if your best friend gets moved, you may be getting moved, or kind of maybe putting that alarm bell in Mika's head, like, oh, some things could be changing, some things that I'm not happy about could be happening here. Maybe it's like a motivating factor.
Mhm.
Just what do you think of that? Do you think it's more of a move by Drury, or do you think that's really where this organization is right now, and the realistic situation is that Kreider is easier to move than Mika or Truba at this point?
I think it's 80% fluff and then 20% reality. I think,
Good way to put it. Yeah.
yeah, I think the majority reason for that is because, like, the probability of moving Mika is difficult, not just because his contract absolutely sucks with a full no move clause to the end, but also if you were another GM right now, why would you want Mika? Like, who would you give up for
And
Mika?
also, we have no leverage either
We
in
have
these
0 leverage. Yeah,
conversations.
right.
Yeah.
Like, we'd have to retain his salary, and he's an aging, former star player. what would we get? A third round, second round draft pick? We're a contending team. We don't need that. We need players. And I think moving Kreider also, like, what do you get in return for that? I mean, I love Kreider and I think he's great for this team, but like outside of the Rangers, besides like tipping goals and like being a power forward, he's outclassed in a lot of the sense. So there's not really a crazy return, I would think, unless I mean, unless there's some GM out there that's drooling at the idea of having either one of them. But I think, yeah, I think it's mainly a fluff like we've seen in the past with other players like Drury. He's no nonsense, which I like.
Mm,
You definitely don't want to tip your hand too early, but I think it's like the pressure to win has never been greater for this organization. And I think with how bad the leadership core has looked, and I'm sure Drury talks on the daily or the weekly with Laviolette, and maybe Laviolette's like, "Hey, listen, like I've been running these drills, I've been doing these team bonding exercises, I've been being harder on them on practice, and I'm not getting through to them. Like nothing's changing." That could be when Drury was like, "All right, now it's my turn to step in." And I think 80% of it is fluff because the return would not be worth it, and also you don't want this core. Like we've seen what this core can do.
mm,
Unfortunately, they haven't proven anything over getting over that hump. But I think the 20% reality is if it's a win-win for Drury. Kind of a win-win because if it scares them and they start playing better, it's like, all right, cool. Then I rescind what I
mm,
was going to say. Or B, you get extremely lucky. Some GM is like, hey, actually, yeah, I'll give you like this young player who's blossoming because we just need this veteran piece. Or it's just majority of the locked down players on this team are young. The only big real question mark is Igor, if he'll sign or not. I think I would prefer if anything was to be done, probably just Truba and Lindgren, honestly, should be moved. If that could get done, that'd be fantastic. Both for defensemen, not for anything else, please. Um, and I think, yeah, that's what I think it is. I think it's mostly a scare tactic, but also I don't think he would turn down an offer if it was good enough. But
mhm.
it's tough. It's not like playing, NHL 25 where you just go after the highest rated players and you're like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Like
There's like
this is
the trade maker. It tells you how much
yeah,
value your guy
how much
has
value
and whatever. Like,
because this is also like they're humans and there's chemistry needed to win championships. And like no matter how good you are, you need chemistry.
mm,
And we see how much this core loves each other. Like they're all great friends. They all want to battle, but it seems like there's members of this core that are kind of giving up, i.e., Truba, Mika, and Truba. I think he's just always been overvalued, and it's just kind of like who he is. Like, you shouldn't really be surprised. Mika's upsetting.
mm,
I think it's just age, even though he's like 31, 32. I don't think it's anything, and I think it's a mix of in his head and just his age. Like he's just regressing. I mean,
mm,
he started off his career pretty rough. That's why the Senators were like, "Yeah, get him out of here," and then he hit his prime with us, and of course, those 90-point seasons are when we didn't go anywhere. Besides like well, I mean, the 2021 season was good, but that's what I think. That's what I think it is too. And then when
mhm,
you have Igor, who's in 15 games, he's 8-7 with a 2.91 GAA and a .914 save percentage. Like that's not good enough. That's not 11.5 to 12 million good enough. And to your point earlier, like yeah, they're so used to like leaning on him that now that he's not playing on that for
mm,
whatever reason, now it's like panic mode across the entire roster. And again, like I'm just angry overall with this team. And as you know, as I say, I think I've said it almost every episode. I'm just angry at Igor in general. I just
yeah,
don't understand how you're offered a super max contract and you turn it down. It just doesn't make sense. And now he's playing worse. If anything, he's helping the Rangers. Now they'll be like, okay, we'll pay you less. So I still firmly believe until he proves me otherwise that he doesn't want to sign here because it just doesn't make sense. Like I could see if the Rangers said, okay, we're going to give you an 8x8. And he's like, no, I want to prove myself so I can get 11.
mm,
Max term, record setting price, and you turn that down. To me, that just screams, I don't want to be here. It does because that or he gambled horribly because he's not playing up to that. And if anything, he's playing up to an 8x8 because this team has a lot to figure out. and I know it's only the end of November, right? Like, this will come out right before Thanksgiving. Happy
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, everyone. And
Yeah,
then,
right.
we have 3 games after Thanksgiving. What I wanna see is I wanna see them win the next 3 games. I wanna see them, I have a coworker going to the Saturday one, which I think is, the Canadians. If they lose to the Canadians, then I think you might have to sell the whole team,
Yeah.
but, let's see, they're playing Carolina Wednesday. Holy crap. That could be a bloodbath. And
Yep.
then when this comes out in the morning, and then they're playing Philly. That could be a bloodbath. And then they're playing Montreal. So I want to see either all 3 wins or a 2-1, right?
Mhm.
It'd
Yeah,
be,
we need a little bit of a bounce back here.
yeah,
We
especially against
can't,
Carolina,
yeah, we
division
can't afford
rival.
it.
Yeah.
And the
So,
Flyers too, I mean, they could be nipping at our heels at some point. It's a very
yeah.
realistic possibility they're a team that could hit their stride. They're close. They really, I don't think they're super far off. But
Yeah.
I just trying to breathe here. Whew.
I
Again,
like it. I like
trying
it.
to
I
stay
know. I
positive,
need to do that
but
too.
but a lot of points there that are again just the negativity around this organization right now. And to me, the thing that makes me nervous is my thought process here is if we start moving core pieces, that sends the message to me that we really kind of missed our shot. That last year was really it.
Yeah.
I really again I'm trying to stay positive and believe that at least this year we have one more realistic shot. Because the thing that really starts getting me thinking about the next few years here and what it could look like for this team and quite frankly not probably isn't going to look as good as it has looked the past few years is because when you like you said when you start breaking up these guys in this locker room who've been playing with each other for years who have that chemistry who have gone through the playoffs together who have been in the trenches together. As soon as you move one of those pieces or two of those pieces, whatever, you start shaking that up. It's just okay. What is it? What is it? What is that return going to look like? And what does that mean to the locker room? Like again, I had made the point earlier. If you move Kreids for a guy who gives you a few more points, are those points actually amounting to wins on the scoreboard though? Are we winning those games out because we're as a team we have that presence and that positivity and that motivation and that drive, or
Right.
are those goals in games where we're losing because we aren't able to take that step and the chemistry isn't there and the locker room these guys are dejected. And so to me, a move of these core players, right now at this point, if we see especially a Kreids move, a Kreider move to me, that pack it in, the season's over. It's not
Yeah.
I'm being dramatic, but to me that is the most dramatic move is the point I'm trying to make. Obviously the season's not over. If we move Kreider, we're still a very competitive team, but that is the biggest move. That is the most dramatic move. But even if we see like a Mika move, that kind of the thought pattern looking at the seasons moving into the next couple seasons is what I'm trying to say is that we're not going to be able to be as competitive. Is that we are going to be a team that maybe we make the playoffs, like maybe we're able to kind of push, but looking at how competitive the Metro is right now, that is going to put us in a spot where it looks like the next couple of years are instead of being us kind of trying to be that annual competitor, it's going to be us annually trying to kind of piece the core back together and get us to a point where we can be competitive again. And if we start moving those core pieces, then does Igor sign here or is he another victim? Is he moved in the offseason? And then are we relying on a goaltender coming through the pipes or trying to acquire one through trade? Well, if we're acquiring one through a trade, who are we trading to get that goaltender?
Right.
So that's when it starts getting shaky, really. And so that says to me that if we do move a core guy here, that we're going to have a couple years here of, I don't want to say mediocrity because I still think we can have that fight and we can still be an interesting team, but just a team that's not close enough. And we've been really close for years here now. Again, still trying to stay positive. And so with that, I'll ask you a question and then I'll give my answer real quick. And because you had actually brought up this idea, we'll take a vote real quick here. If you think a core guy is getting moved, in the short term future here, that being, Amika, Kreider, Trubes, any of those guys, even a couple more, I'm going to say no. I'm going to believe in these guys. I'm going to say that maybe there is a move, maybe there is a couple moves before trade deadline, but I don't think that this core is going to get broken up right now at this point. I think that if it does, that like I said, it would be a miss, and that we would have a couple seasons of close to mediocrity and you know not really being close enough. And it would be very disappointing for this franchise considering how competitive we've been in recent years. And it would really highlight the reality that last year was our best shot and we blew it. But to kind of put a bow on that one, you think a
Yep.
core guy's getting moved here in the near future?
If I was Chris Drury, because, yeah, no, I would agree with you. I would say no. I think this is the year. This is the last year for this core. I think if we miss the playoffs or get knocked out in the first round, then I think this offseason, things gotta get blown up. Things
Mhm.
gotta get changed. Hard conversation is gonna have to happen with Mika. Again, I think leave Chris Kreider till his contract's up. Like, he could even be like a third line guy. Like, do not get rid of Chris Kreider. So he
Especially when
he
he's so
barely
close
makes any
to, like,
money.
all these records, and he's hallowed in Rangers history for
Yeah.
some of the achievements that he's made, being a
Yes.
homegrown guy who
Yes.
started his career right out of college in the playoffs. I mean, the story is incredible.
Yes. It's incredible, and there's just really no return good enough, especially this early in the season. Most GMs are gonna be like, "Nah, I wanna see what I have in my players." Like, I'm not gonna do that. So, yeah, I would have to agree. I would have to agree with
Mm,
you, as much as I think, I think just lingering Trouba, if you could just do that, I think that would be awesome, unless I don't know, they're even more soft or they're like big babies. Like if Trouba gets moved, they just implode even more. And they're like, oh, our captain who can barely play defense and is like one of the most annoying players to watch in all of hockey is no longer here. So now we can't play. Like that would absolutely drive me up a wall. But that's what I think. That's what I think. I agree with you.
mm,
Um, this is just kind of it. It has to
yeah,
get done. There's no more ifs, ands, or buts. If it can't be done this year, then, yeah, we're gonna have to buckle up, Rangers fans. We're gonna have to get ready for, as you pointed out, a little mediocrity as we retool
yep.
because but, great memories, of course, and I pray, good memories to continue.
The
Um,
spirit of Hank come to us. I got my Hank
yes.
hat on. I
Yeah, I like
was
that.
feeling it. I had to rep.
This is
Wish we
great.
could get some
Yeah,
of oh, dude, by the way, I love that sweater you got, that, like, retro vintage look, dude, it's so sick.
it's got, like,
You know, I
patches
love that thing.
on the I forgot the camera's inverted, but
Yeah.
85-year anniversary one, even though we're
Oh, it's sick.
2 years from our 100, so
Yeah. Thing is sick. But I
yeah.
know, like, I like that you pointed out the importance of this offseason as well. I really do think that, again, if we aren't able to take that step, again, this really is our year here. At least I think we do have enough to kind of make this the last possible year. Again, barring any big changes and everything we had talked about this episode. But this offseason is going to be a serious kind of point for this franchise for years to come, and a point that you can kind of look back at years, even further down the line from now, and look at and really see the impact of some of those moves, and there's a lot of moves that could be made that could seriously impact this franchise for historically, and that's very nerve wracking to be considering. We are early in the season here, so a lot could happen, but the fact that that is in the back of our minds because of all the conversations that are going around and the way that this team is performing just tells you enough about kind of where we're at right now, and kind of the general vibe of the fan base. I think I'm done venting for now. Unless you have any last thoughts, I think we had covered all we wanted to cover, and hopefully some more positive stuff here. And actually, and I know you actually real quick, those games that we wanted to highlight, just this winning those 3 games, that would be incredibly important. I'm just gonna just kind of highlight that again.
Yeah. Oh,
Carolina,
and goal
Philly,
scorers. True.
Canadians.
Forgot about that.
Ooh, good call. Oh my God, you're
Yep.
right.
Oh my god, before we wrap it up, we gotta do that, which I don't even wanna do.
I
No,
know
I
that's
do.
what I mean. I was like, I'd just I'm so at this, like, I'm just right, like I got
Dejected,
it all
yeah.
out. Oh my goodness, good call though.
Yeah,
Wow,
we
I
will.
literally started the segment to start the episode. We're at the end of the episode, and I'm just again to tell you where we are and where our heads at and what we
Yeah,
feel about this
yeah.
franchise. Where we vented for a half hour here, and it's like I'm getting frustrated. You know what I mean? All right, let's go here. We got Carolina. What are you thinking? Who's scoring first?
I'm going with Adam Fox. A little salt in the wound. He still has not
Okay.
scored a damn goal, that's another thing too. Get these goals up, Adam.
No. Oh man, this one I don't know. I got to catch up to you here, but okay. You know what? We're talking all about these guys. We're talking about the core guys. We're talking about Kreider. We're talking about Mika. Kreider's getting the first goal here. After that hat trick, that electric performance, that historic performance. You know what?
Mm.
I'm riding Kreider's.
Well, he is still day to day if you wanna pick someone else in case he doesn't play.
He's playing. And
Okay.
now, good call. I'm getting overly excited here, Mika.
Yeah.
I got the best friends. I got the best friends here.
Okay. Alright.
All right, then we got the Flyers here. Also, good call. Thank you for that. I wasn't even thinking.
Yeah. No, I would pick credit too, but if I don't think he practiced today.
Good looking out.
I'm gonna go with Vincent Trocheck. Flyers.
All right, true. All right, true.
Definitely not going to happen, but I'm going for it.
He's got to at some point though, right? Like
Yeah.
his career year last year, and we're just not seeing it this year.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ride laugh on this one.
All right, nice.
One of the only guys that's actually been fun to watch and has been kind of consistently good here for us. So, all right, we got the Canadians game.
Going with Will Cooley.
Good call. He has been just you can't even be mad at him and what he's been doing. I mean, in the midst of all of this negativity and nonsense, he's been insane. Very good call.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Who do I think scoring against the Canadians? Panarin.
Nice.
Not super original, but there's a reason he's the top scorer. All right, well, very good call on that one. I was, again, just tells you how I feel about this franchise right now. I was ready. But thank you very much. So yeah, I mean, I guess I'll segue us into here and into the holidays. We're getting into Thanksgiving here, like you, John, had mentioned a couple of times, and we this will be out right before Thanksgiving. Hopefully, you enjoy a lovely holiday with your family and some nice turkey, nice football games on. However, you guys choose to celebrate whatever family traditions you have. I hope you all enjoy. You personally, hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving, good sir. I know we'll be seeing each other a little bit later tonight, actually, and I'm sure we'll hang out next week as well. Chit chat, talking about the holidays, and it's fun. We're getting into the holiday season. At least that's something we can all look forward to. Whether you celebrate Christmas, Hanukkah, New Year's, Thanksgiving, whatever, fun time. So yeah, again, just everyone, happy Thanksgiving. Thank you all for listening here. We really appreciate it. We hope that there's more positive stuff for us to talk about moving forward. Let's get some big wins here, boys. Let's give us some stuff to grasp onto and some fun stuff to talk about. So thank you all again. And after my very long-winded send-off, that's the last you will hear of me on this one.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. As always, happy Thanksgiving to everyone in whatever capacity you may celebrate it in. I hope it's a great time to you as well, Matt. We will definitely be doing all the things you mentioned. It's a little bleak right now, but after this goes live and Thanksgiving weekend, there's 3 Ranger games to always look forward to. Let's hope they do not take a big dump on our heads. That would suck. So we will hope that things will be looking up and, for the better. Hopefully they woke up. Hopefully they realized what they really want. It's every hockey player's dream to win the Stanley Cup. You hear that all the time. And it's every hockey fan's dream to watch their players and team win a Stanley Cup. So that's what we are here for. So let's go Rangers. Let's get excited. And if not, we'll have a lot to talk about either way. So thank you again for always listening. Check us out every week, and we will catch you on the next one.